right, everybody, welcome to the show. This week's edition of Tennessee Wildcast, the Tennessee Wildlife Resources Agency weekly podcast. You can hear us, you can watch us, you need to tell your friends about us because we're talking about all things outdoors. Man, we're talking about a lot of stuff that I know that folks want to know about, Jason.
That's right.
Jason Harmon. I'm Doug Markham. We'll introduce our guest just here in a minute. So much to talk about. Hunting season's right around the corner now. Still a lot of fishing to go. A lot of boating activity out there, Jason.
Yep.
You got some cool stuff to tell them today.
Yeah.
A good interview about a lot of stuff going on in the mid-state. Go ahead.
Right. Coming up here pretty soon, Middle and West Tennessee is the elk. Listen at me. The duck blind draw.
There you go.
And we want to show y'all how to get there and find out about that information.
It's this Saturday.
This Saturday, the 6th.
Right. The 6th, that's right. Starts at 7 o'clock. Registration goes till 10, and then you got to be in line at 10 o'clock. All right, show them how they can find these locations.
All right,
so easy to do.
Switch to the screen for you folks watching, and then walk y'all through this. But yeah, go to our website, and on our slider you can see the tradition continues. Click that slider where it says read more, and that's going to take you to the map where you can find all those blind draw spots.
And don't just be patient. It's a little slow loading because it is a big foul, okay?
Right.
And Lynn Barrett downstairs, Tracy Porter, been working on this out of our GIS, and I think they do a great job. But there's the wildlife management areas across the state, and you may not be able to see it on here, but if you pull that up a little tighter, you'll see a bunch of red icons on it, and those are where, there you go. Those are where the drawings are going to be, and put that cursor right over top of one of those, can you, Jason?
So click on one.
There you go. And there's your coordinate there. And if you hit on that Google directions, it will show you how to get there. You can't get lost. Even I couldn't get lost.
Well, I don't know about that.
Well, maybe. Anyway, but it's that easy now. Trying to make it easier for you. If you've never been to a waterfowl blind draw, some of you are pros, and you know how to get there, and you could go blind yourself. But but if you're new to it, that will help you a lot. Most of them all of them really are in Middle and West Tennessee. All these drawings are, because they're the closest to the Mississippi flyway, and the ducks really come into these areas off the Tennessee River and over in the Cumberland River. And it's just a great place to go, and it's usually the hottest day of the year. So take a lot of water with you, okay?
And we're not leaving the East Tennessee folks out. They can come
absolutely
get in on the draw as well.
Yeah.
And there's no draws in East Tennessee, but come on over here on our side of the state and try to get you a blind.
Oh, absolutely. And I'm sure they will be there. They're competitive, but you can, as Jason talked about the other day, you can still watch it out with Joe Benedict on our Facebook page.
Right.
You can sign on. You can take your buddies, take 100 of them if you want to, and some of them can sign on with you. There is a limit on how many can hunt at a blind at one time, 8 or 10 or something, look in the guide. But you can sign on a bunch of folks, up to quite a few, and then who knows? Hunting might be great this year.
Let's hit one more thing before we move on. Don't forget, if you go to our Facebook page, we're talking about the stuff on there, the information about the blind draws there, and a whole lot more information. And don't forget about our Twitter feed. We're pushing stuff up there. We've got almost 7,000 followers. It's growing like crazy. And
about 63,000 on the statewide Facebook. So we're putting stuff out there all the time. We're in the social media world now. It is what we are. This is the world we're in now, and we want to give you as much information as possible to keep you updated on what's going on with your outdoors here in Tennessee.
That's right.
There you go. There's how you can learn more about it. All right, let's do that wide out. Jason, let's intro. Unless you got more.
I think that's about it for now.
All right.
Let's check out the guest here.
All right. This is Tim Cleveland. He is the manager of the Region 2 office here in Middle Tennessee. And we're going to talk mid-state today, but a lot of stuff that I think will interest anyone who wants to come over to the mid-state. Tim has been the manager down in the Region 2 office, which is this office we're in. This is Studio B up in the Nashville office. Tim's about 100 yards below us in the Region 2 office. And Tim, how long have you been manager over there now?
Well, time's gone by very, very fast.
It has.
I'm going to say 8 years.
Wow.
7, 8 years.
And assistant before
I
that.
think that's right. Yeah, and I was assistant regional manager before that.
And I remember the days when you got in the creeks and the streams. And
I started out as a rivers and streams guy. I'm going to put my fish hat on today, too, to talk about
I want you to.
Creek shoes and cool temperatures and catching some nice smallmouth.
Right now, we'll go out of order just a little bit.
That's
okay?
all right.
Since
'Cause this
he's
is
already,
my kind of fishing right here.
Since he's already got into this part, because you waded those creeks so much with the best fishing equipment in the world.
Oh, there's no doubt.
The electricity's hard to get. It's hard to beat.
Yeah,
But
it
you
doesn't
saw
lie. It does not lie.
It does not lie. And you saw what? What kind of fishing do we have here in Middle Tennessee?
You know, for many, many, many years, 2 decades now, I've been talking about how great the smallmouth fishing is in these streams and creeks that we have in Middle Tennessee. That is it's the top of the food chain for these streams. So nice smallmouth. It's really hot outside. You get on these stream banks, Mill Creek that runs right through Nashville. You know, 18, 20-inch smallmouth. Cool weather, you know, you got shade over you, the canopy, the trees, and the water's, you know, a fairly nice temperature, and you can have a lot of fun.
It is,
going out and wading.
And there's streams all over this mid-state from one end to the other, and I think we're blessed in Middle Tennessee to have the streams that we have. I mean, it's incredible fishing in these things.
Yes, that is exactly right.
And this is the time of year I love more than any other. I love to get in the waters at 6 o'clock and later. It's called the witching hour, and that's when the fish really turned up.
It's just phenomenal, you know. And I mean, there are great times to be on the reservoir, and then there are great times to be on the rivers and the streams.
Exactly.
And this is one of those times, these August type temperatures, where you can get out and you can catch great, you know, just tremendous rock bass and smallmouth, and just really have a good time.
And you've always talked about how fruitful these bodies of water are, and sometimes there will be an unfortunate fish kill on these things. Something happens, whatever it is, a truck overturns and everything goes into the creek and kills it. But you always say, give these things a couple of years and they're right back to where they were.
I've worked so many of those streams where you'll have a DO kill, a dissolved oxygen kill, and that's typically what happens in the streams anyway. So a lot of people might think it's, you know, some type of toxin that may, you know, like kill the other animals and stuff that are eating out. Very rarely do you have a situation like that. Usually it's something that goes into the water that takes the dissolved oxygen out of the water, and then the fish die. And so it's a temporary thing. And when that's gone, because the habitat is there and it's such tremendous habitat, the fish come right back in. You know, there were years on a lot of creeks in Middle Tennessee where we would go in, and when we were actually doing the age and growth studies on smallmouth, we would actually remove the smallmouth from these 200-yard sections of survey area that we would do on the stream, and we would come back the next year, and there would be the exact same number of smallmouth, the exact same length frequencies. You know, you'd have the big fish all the way down to the little fish. It's so habitat driven, and it's such an incredible fishery in Middle Tennessee for smallmouth. So that's the primary fish for creek fishing,
and
really.
That's why the smallmouth needs to be on the license.
Absolutely,
because it is the king of all fish in this state, as far as I'm concerned.
I'm with you.
All right, Tim. Let's talk about some other stuff. Let's talk about the waterfowl plantings or replantings. We have several wildlife management areas in the mid-state, Old Hickory and Cheatham and Haynes Bottom. They sit alongside the Cumberland River, and I know it's been hot this summer, and I know folks may be droughty where they are, but along this river there's been a lot of rain, and this rain has damaged existing crops there, not destroyed them, not a complete destroy of them, but it's done some damage, and you guys in Middle Tennessee are working to try to get some stuff back in there.
Yeah, that's a great picture of the new Old Hickory Wildlife Management area manager, Mike Boble, and Mike was hired in right on top of the storms that you talked about last. Welcome, Mike, and so he comes right in, and in July we had this 2-week pattern of incredible intense thunderstorm cells that just rolled over Old Hickory, and really the northern part of Region 2 for the most part. I know Region 1 Camden, I know there were some other places that were
from there, by the way. Yeah,
there were other places that were affected as well. Yeah, and so these storms, they rolled across, and it was just a pattern every day, and after a while the ground was so soaked and the river was so high, the corn just couldn't make it. I mean, with the stuff that we had planted early in the season, was almost I would say it's probably a 70 to 80% crop failure on Old Hickory.
Cheatham
and Haynes, they actually survived. Eric Tumman's out there doing a tremendous job as the Cheatham WA manager. He really is not concerned about what he was able to get in. Old Hickory is the story.
Okay.
Go ahead. I'm thinking about probably 80, probably around 100 acres were lost of the 145 or 150 that he plants
on
Old Hickory.
Okay.
And so what we did is we came back in. He actually got a dry spell a week or so ago, and he was able to get back out there and replant those duck holes with millet. There was if the ground was high. The reason why there's still 30 or 40 acres of corn out there, if the ground was high enough, he left the corn there. So there was no reason to turn that ground under. He had to dry some of that soil out, so some of it just had to be turned. The ground just had to be turned.
I see. Okay.
And so he topsowed millet on the ground, and that's a 60-day crop. So in the next
fast.
60 days, it's going to grow. It's going to grow fast, and so everything's going to be ready to go certainly by November.
It's no different than any other farmer out there, guys. It's a farming operation, and you're at the whim of Mother Nature, and so whatever she does, and so they have to do the best they can. I know corn is what hunters won't, but millet draws ducks too, right?
And that's exactly right. It absolutely does, and also he has Milo out there too. So there's we're kind of cautiously optimistic about how this is going to go, but I think he's done the very best that possibly could have been done given the rain events that we had there. The water, those guys were pumping 7 days a week, 24 hours a day to try to get the water off of those fields. It's below the river. It's underneath the the ground level is the levee. The water was almost coming over the levee. It was just within a foot or whatever.
And we kept getting rain after that, and kept keeping it wet till finally we just had this little dry spell. So everything's going to be all right. We think you'll learn more if you're seeing this before the waterfowl blind drawing. They'll be there to explain to you and give you an idea, even more what's going on around certain blinds or series of blinds out there if you ask them the questions as y'all gather this weekend.
And I'll be out there at the Old Hickory duck blind drawing on Saturday, so we'll hope to talk to some of you guys.
All right.
Out there this weekend.
All right. Now, the other thing that's going on, big time here in Middle Tennessee, Tim, you have been cracking that whip over this, and this is these hogs in Middle Tennessee. We have hogs here. We don't want hogs here. Hogs aren't native to this area. There is a tradition in parts of Tennessee for hog hunting, but it probably because there's a tradition here, some of these hogs have come on over to Middle Tennessee to be hunted. But they've created a lot of damage, right? And so we're going out trying to get rid of them. Yeah,
we've been the guys have been unbelievably successful, just down to the county officers, the WMA managers and their staffs and their crews. They've just been absolutely incredible in Region 2. I tell people this was a mission change for the agency. This was especially in Region 2 was kind of ground zero for how hogs were moving across the state of Tennessee. They've had their traditional areas on the Cumberland Plateau areas and in East Tennessee. Those are traditional, hunting type areas where that we've had for generations.
Some of their damage there.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's incredible damage. But Region 2 was, we were beginning to see these small pockets pop up all across the Middle Tennessee area, and so. We got after it, and really and truly, we have eradicated most of the pockets in Middle Tennessee. We still have hogs in the Montgomery County area around Fort Campbell. We still have hogs in that Sumner-Wilson County line, really along the river, along the Cumberland River. As a matter of fact, we just got some more on bait just a few days ago, so we're hoping we can maybe coerce them to come into our traps. And then Wayne County is really where the majority
boiling out.
That's an expanding range.
Yeah,
that is a range of hogs. They're coming up from Alabama. They are just simply ranging into the state of Tennessee. They're not necessarily being transported and released, which is illegal. But that was kind of what was happening in Middle Tennessee. If you want to hunt hogs, then you have an incentive to help to kind of stock and release illegally some of those hogs in Middle Tennessee, and that's what we were seeing in these smaller pockets that were around, and we did a really good job of eradicating those pockets. So Middle Tennessee right now is in a great place for just simply not having to deal with the loss of habitat from what those animals do.
Okay, and it is an eradication project. This is not, let's go hunting, let's get our dogs and go out hunting. It's an eradication. If you're a landowner and you want to get rid of them, get your guns out or get your buddy and just go kill them, right?
That is correct.
And then we're doing our part.
That's
with
right.
pins.
It took us a while. It took me a while to get my head around the fact, since I'm a deer hunter, a big-time deer hunter, around the fact that hunters really were not going to be able to be involved to help solve this issue, and it just has to do with the reproduction rates of these hogs.
Incredible.
And it's incredible.
Yeah.
And then also it has to do with the fact that there are some hunters that are on the fringe that are incentivized to hunt hogs, so they want to help the population along. So they may try to bring some in from somewhere else and stock those things. And so there's an incentive there. So we had to take all of that away and just start dealing with it ourselves. There were some methodologies that came out, I don't know, maybe 10 or 15 years ago, and that we adopted. That was, and you're seeing some photos here, setting up some of the traps and stuff like that, where you can actually get the full group of hogs. And it's a great methodology. It works very well, and it's been extremely successful. And we have caught up. You were talking about social media being the new deal of the day. We've embraced technology also. So we have these remote access, gates and stuff that we can close the gate by simply looking on our iPhone and saying, okay, the group of hogs is in the trap. Okay, they're around the feeder in the trap.
That's
and
outstanding.
We can now close. I have all of them. They're all in there. Mama and all the little ones, or several mamas and whatever else is in there, and we can close that gate, and then we can go out there and take care of them. So
special shout out to Rodney Woodson of Old Hickory,
unbelievable
WMA technician out there that's really brought us into that technological world. I think he started building gates and traps, and now he's helped us with the whole technology of getting those gates shut.
Yes, he is the guy that he was the early technician that kind of learned this stuff on the go, and he would look at the equipment that we would buy. He would look at it and say, well, I could make that a little better. And he'd go in there and start working on it. And then it was incredible. And so he has become the subject matter expert on how to set these things up and how to ruggedize them, because that was another thing the industry wasn't really that good at, was ruggedizing them so that we could take them out and use them in our field environments for long periods of time in the field. And he just did an unbelievable job at making those things last.
I've always said, since I learned this agency a long time ago, that the technicians that work for us on our WMAs pay for themselves in about the first month or two that they're out there. The rest of the time, they're giving money back to the state of Tennessee, because they do so much great work out there, whether it's that kind of work, electrical work, rebuilding stuff out there that's falling to the ground. They do everything. We could
name several of them right now that are foremost authorities in everything from crayfish to electronics to stream fish identification. I mean, these guys they grab a hold of what they're doing, their responsibilities, they expand from there, and they absolutely just become these overall knowledge base for the agency.
Even
They're unreal.
Even bones burned.
Well, that's Daryl was on my mind when I was talking about it.
I could tell that.
I mean, he's another genius.
He is. All right. Let's move on. The hog stuff it could be a whole 30-minute show in and of itself. It's so interesting what's going on.
Great success though, and we've really reduced those pockets, which I'm most proud about. I mean, I think we've killed about 160 to 180 hogs this year down in Wayne County. We'll continue to do. That's about average, by the way, for about what we're doing every year. So, and then we'll continue to. We continue to hammer them along the Wilson Sumner County area there. Along the river, we get some out of there, 20, 30, whatever, every year. So we continue to work those areas, those pockets where we find them. But other than that, we just don't get a lot of complaints from people anymore that are calling in and saying, hey, I got hog damage, or I saw hogs. Those have disappeared.
Good deal. And they are devastating to property, which is why we're doing it. If you don't have them on your land, you may not know the extent of their devastation, but they cause millions of dollars of damage, if not billions, across the country.
Well, they eat all the row crops. They'll go down, they'll eat a farmer's all his crops. They'll also tear up fields. They look like a bobcat went down through the middle of the fields.
It looks like a meteor just went through. Running right through them. That's right. Or
they're horrible.
All right, dove hunting. It's coming up.
Coming up.
It's right around the corner. Going to be a lot of fields again in Middle Tennessee.
Yeah, we always put a premium on our leased fields. I mean, aside from all of our WMA fields, but we really try to. This is one of those sports that, you know, for me as a kid, this was one of the things that really got me into the sport of hunting. There are a few, I call them kind of gateway gateway hunting events that you can take kids to, and this is one of them. It has everything. It's got dogs. It has, it's fast activity. The birds fly. There's shotguns and there's just cool stuff. And so as a kid, it's captivating, and it's just a great way to introduce a kid into the sport of hunting. It's kind of like introducing a kid into fishing. The best thing you can do with them is take them bluegill fishing,
exactly right.
because they're just going to have a ball, and it's just going to be one after another all day. Well, that's kind of our desire for young people. Also, I'm not saying that it's just the opening day of dove season is for youth, but that is always on my mind too, because we all know as hunters and how we grew up, mm-hmm. that this was one of the ways that we really got interested in hunting too. But yeah, so we put a premium on these lease fields, and we'll typically have, I don't know, 8, 10, maybe even 12 this year. So we try to get as many fields as we can afford.
All right, Tucker going this year a little too early?
We're going to try maybe.
You're ready? Okay, he's getting there. All right, and the fields, of course, dove hunting begins at noon on September the 1st, and that interactive map that Jason showed you at the very beginning, look to come back to it for dove fields
mm-hmm.
a little bit later. I talked to Lynn Barrett downstairs the other day in our GAS, and she said she'd have something up there. So
awesome.
Let's look for that, and you can find the fields in Middle Tennessee, both the leased fields and WMAs, our own fields, that are being worked on, right, Tim?
That is exactly right. The lease fields will come on, maybe a week or so. You know how that goes.
That goes right before the hunt.
Yeah, that's exactly right. It goes right before the hunt. So just keep your eye on those. A lot of them are perennial. A lot of the fields you'll see, they're just the same lease fields we get every year, and then we try to add, one or two every year too if we get a new and different one. So,
all right, something real specific to Middle Tennessee. So far, a lot of stuff you can come over here and enjoy. You can come over and enjoy this ramp, but a lot of you aren't going to hear this ramp. It's called Misty Cove. It's on the Cumberland River. It's on, I guess that would be Old Hickory right there,
mm-hmm.
Way up on Old Hickory. And there's a ramp there called Misty Cove, and we get a lot of questions about Misty Cove. It has not been an agency ramp until recently. My understanding is that we now are going to be handling that ramp, working on that ramp, and even doing the trash pickup over there eventually in the next few weeks. You hearing much about that?
Yeah, oh yeah. I mean, the Corps of Engineers gave us the ramp. It's now Tennessee Wildlife Ramp. So we don't put a lot of focus on access on the lakes, just because it's pretty saturated. I mean, we have a lot of access on our reservoirs. Our focus in Middle Tennessee really over the last maybe 10 years or so has really been focused on getting access onto these rivers, and we can talk about that here in just a few minutes. Yeah. But the Misty Cove ramp it's an interesting one, just because of the ramp itself has always been in good condition. The parking lot area is where we've always had issues, because when you get big rains, it washes everything out of there, and you get these giant ruts and stuff, and guys have a hard time parking their trucks and trailers. So the engineer crew, Dwight and his guys, are going to go in there, I think, this fall. I don't want to put a date on him, because I know he's working his schedule, but he's working everywhere. But he is going to go in there, I'm pretty sure, early fall, and he's going to rework that whole parking lot to allow that water to move off of that parking lot, so that it doesn't wash it away, and then we'll have some more stability. That being said, there's a lot of fishermen that use that ramp too. It's not just duck hunters.
I'm one of them. There's duck hunters. There's walleye up in that area. Not that I've ever found a bunch of them yet, but they're there. It's a great sauger spot all through there. All that area up on the Cumberland River. It's cool up there, and it's a beautiful place. But the parking lot has just pretty much just been a ground. It's just earthen parking lot. Mm-hmm. So it's
our engineer crew, they are amazing. Yeah. I mean, they are truly an amazing bunch of guys, and the work that they do is, I mean, when they put their stamp on something, it is, the fishermen can be, and the sportsmen in general can just be proud of it, because they really are going to leave something that's lasting.
Some incredible, talented work.
It's unreal.
We need to go over there and do some kind of video on that ramp.
Well, I was going to say, I was just over there this past year with my son. There's some great bank fishing over there too.
There is.
I mean,
That's a
it's
cool
easy
community
access.
over there. And,
That's easy access. It's really easy to get to. So
Mr. Bones, we were talking about earlier, has told me some of the sloughs that come back into Misty Cove at some times of the year are full of bass and full of crappie.
Sure.
And,
Absolutely.
Brian James has told me that. More, I guess so.
Boy,
More Brian
he'd
James
know.
in this case. Brian gets in there and uses that good fishing equipment again. Other ramps. You are busy in Middle Tennessee. I've been on the I guess the Red River. We're getting ready to put a new ramp over there
Yes, we
pretty
are.
soon. There's a what's the creek in Giles County that we just
Richland.
Creek put one there just recently.
Yes.
This is going on and on. What's happening, Tim?
Well, I mean, a lot of the credit has to go to Todd St. John, who has a passion for developing our rivers in Middle Tennessee. We have such incredible water here, and I know we're getting a lot of multi-use sporting
Kayaks
activities, the
and-
kayaks, the paddle boards, the canoers, that kind of thing. But still, it's providing access for fishermen too, and obviously that's our number one thought when we go back through there. But to be able to float these rivers and have a way to, I guess the plan or the idea that we had was that you could actually plan a river float yourself. You could have a half a day float, you could have a full day float. We want to give people options when they go out as just how much, depending on what kind of time they may have in a day. Maybe they only have a half a day, so let them go out there and fish and have a good time. So that's kind of what we've been trying to do on the Red. Todd's got his eye on the Elk River. They're working a couple of good pieces of property right now.
Giles County or over in Lincoln County, somewhere in there?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. All right. And I want to call, if you want to see the talent of some of our crews, there's a ramp called Heartland, which is near McGavick School in Davidson County. It's on the Stones River below Percy Priest Dam. It is a great piece of work, and there was no ramp there, so you had virtually no access to that river. And they built that, and then there's also one in the Caney Fork River that they added a couple of years
That's
ago.
the one I was going to talk about. That's
Go ahead.
amazing.
It's
Gordonsville.
awesome.
I mean, it's just amazing.
And it's just a well-done ramp. Somehow they figure out how to build below these flooding waters or these discharges coming down, and just always amazed by their talent. If you want to know more where you can get access, our website has a lot of information on access, and we'll continue to increase that as you build more ramps.
Always. I mean, we're always looking for property. We're always looking for some, access that fits our need. It kind of fits into where we're looking to have floats. So we're always trying to, just connect. If we get one access, we'll try, we'll look 5 river miles of stream miles up, or something, and try to get an access somewhere in that area to give folks an opportunity to go out and enjoy the absolutely beautiful, the most beautiful rivers and streams. I spent 12 years on them. They're just absolute. There are places on the Duck River, there are places on the Buffalo River that you almost think you're going into some kind of paradise. I mean, it's absolutely stunningly beautiful.
I agree with that. I've been on the Duck River near Columbia, and I knew the city was only half a mile away from me, and I thought I was out in the middle of nowhere. It's an
isn't it
incredible
wild?
thing. It is.
It really is. And the smallmouth, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can get your arm broke there.
We definitely need to go do some video.
Real quick, if you look at the screen, look at all the little blue dots. That's our fishing and it's our boating access. So look at all the opportunities just to get on the waters here in Tennessee.
Yeah, and all that's right on the website, right? Okay,
Yep.
So go out there. I tell you, those GIS ladies, they're putting a lot of work out there for folks to go look at, and it's not as hard as you think it is if you just spend a little time doing some
And guys,
work.
the sun is not going to beat straight down on you. You're underneath trees, and it's beautiful, and it's cool, and you can catch giant smallmouth and have a ball.
Or and
Yeah.
even get into the water and cool down if you're having a rough time, right?
Yeah,
All right,
absolutely. Yeah, you can jump in.
Jason, how much time we got left?
Oh, we're getting close. Probably 4 minutes here.
Okay. Tim, what else would you like to talk about? What else is going on in regions? Oh, Normandy Hatchery. I did want to mention our hatcheries real quick.
Yeah, I mean, there's
Todd St. John was talking about it a few weeks ago, but we're building on to the hatchery there, right?
Yeah, we're adding on to probably ultimately, probably about another 1 million fish that we'll add to the state of Tennessee. It's important to understand that these hatcheries like Normandy, they produce fish for the entire state of Tennessee.
Yeah, not just Middle Tennessee.
No, it's not just
Right.
Middle Tennessee. So that's kind of, those are great photos there. That's that's a picture of Flintville up there.
Yeah,
in
we'll
the
get to
upper
that
right.
one up on the right corner. We'll talk about that in a second.
Yeah, but I mean, those hatcheries. They produce these fish, and they go out to people benefit all across the state of Tennessee. They just happen to be in the Middle Tennessee area, and they happen to be under our responsibility. So yeah, there is another phase of development. 8 production ponds. and they'll be online sometime in 2018.
Okay, and
we'll be producing.
We're running out of time. And also, Springfield Hatchery is doing remarkable work. It's a 2-man crew over there. Man, they do great work.
Incredible.
And our Flintville Hatchery was up in that right corner. It's cold water. It produces trout.
Yes.
And
yes,
the late,
it does.
great Stacy was in that photograph.
Yes,
so
absolutely.
There. So, Tim, we've run out of time. We'll get you back, though, okay?
Yeah, man.
We got
Anytime.
so much to talk about. We might just do a 30-minute hog show.
Yeah, absolutely. That'd be awesome.
You'd like that, wouldn't
Yes, I would.
you? Hey, thanks, Barry Cross, for producing that excellent video
Yeah,
that we
great.
showed in the background. Appreciate Barry. You ought to check out the Facebook pages. You'll see a lot of his work, a lot of Jason's work, a lot of Todd's work who's over here. And we'll keep throwing it out at you. Anything else?
tnwildlife.org. You can watch us, find everything you need to know about the Wildlife Agency, and get outdoors.
All right, everybody. We'll be back next week. All our shows are still out there. Tell your friends.
Thank y'all.